All right, let's do our daily quick cap here of ticker symbol MNST. This is the Monster Beverage Corporation, or the Monster Energy drinks. This is their stock, and I do want to say I apologize for not posting the past couple of days or uploading videos. Um, Had a lot going on, and it's been tough to find the time, but I do apologize, and I'm back now, and we're good to go. So trade review, our daily quick cap of MNST. All right, it popped up on the scanners right here at the end of this day. And obviously, for those of you that know the system, as soon as I pulled it up, I see it's clearly a mountain to river setup, which is perfect. Uh, and then we just had to start looking for support and resistance. And this one, as far as looking left and finding that horizontal support, I mean, it was pretty plain and obvious. I'm not even going to draw it in. Look at that right there, and you can see we recently hit it there, and on the day that we signaled, it got really close to it. And also look at that signal candle when we zoom in. Really pay attention to it, and you can see how the price action and how candlestick analysis was really telling us this had some potential to be bearish. Now, still, I wanted to be sure because it was trending up recently. I really wanted to be sure about this one. So, what I did, let's see, we'll zoom in right here. First, I just said, all right, well, let's see what happens if we connect the dots from there to, in this area right here. And I came up with that line. And then there was, what about here to here? That really wasn't relevant. And then I did, all right, well, what if we went from here? What if we connected this trend right here? You see how kind of clean this looks right here? This trend. So what if we connected those? And we're underneath that one, and we had plenty of room to move to this one. So I felt good with that overhead support. And then with the trend lines kind of backing me up, there wasn't anything concrete as far as the trend lines go. These are just like little bitty pieces of the puzzle that kind of help me be convicted about this one. And all we needed to do was for it to trigger, which it did. On this one, we needed our trigger to be to break 96.16, which means up here I needed to see 96.15 print. I needed to see those numbers 95.15 come up right there, and we would enter the trade. Now, as usual, I will say everything that I've gone over so far is same things we always go over in the war rooms. Each and every morning, you get your watch list the night before. We go over it the next morning in the war room, and I tell you why I put the stocks on the watch list, why, the technical analysis side of it, as far as why I believe in trading this a certain way. And you're even given your entry and your stop. So as far as trading it, it's pretty self-explanatory all the way up after you enter the trade. We just needed it to see price print up here a certain level, and we can enter. Now, the only question is when do you exit? There are several different ways to exit, or not. There are many different ways you can exit. Heck, you could even exit randomly. That makes no sense at all, and it might work for you. I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you when to take profit or anything like that. I will say you just need to try to come up with something that's consistent, something that you can stick with, and that's why I always go over these three in my videos. Excuse me, a little tired. That's why I always go over these three in my videos, just so that it can give you a good idea and a good foundation of how to exit a trade. And the first one we'll go over is scaling out or exiting completely into previous support or resistance. Now, on this one, our trigger was here, way up here, and the first area that I would have looked at was right here at the low which was, you can see right there, the low on that day was 94.9, and the low of the trading, or the day of the trade, is 94.83. So it barely reached it. Barely got down to 94.9. That would have been my first exit, though. I would have, as far from a technical analysis side of things, and from finding previous areas of support or resistance on the daily chart, because that is what we use primarily, is the daily chart. So, yeah, I felt pretty good about that level. If it came down to it, the only other one, I'll be honest, the one that I was watching the most was this one, because I had it drawn in, just like this, and it was really intriguing to me how, basically, I was wondering, since I'd drawn this line in, I was thinking, could it be that accurate? Like, could it price actually come down to that area and then bounce? And sure enough, it did. So you could have waited for price to get to this trend line, or that could have been your second area of profit. I mean, it's really close, like really, really close. So either way, whether you did there or up here, would have been fine. The point is that when you're scaling out into a previous area of support or resistance, don't don't be trying to, really dig deep into the technical analysis side. It needs to be a level that you feel comfortable with, and a level that is fairly obvious on the charts. Um, Otherwise, it's not going to be as powerful, or at least that's what I would recommend if you're going to choose to trade that way. Is find an area that's fairly obvious to see on the charts. That doesn't take a ton of analysis, doesn't take a ton of work on your part. You can just kind of see it and see what's happening. So, the second way we'll go over is that's just simply when the trade triggers, that is entering the trade, setting your stop, and then letting it ride throughout the day. And yes, you can be profitable this way, as crazy as that sounds. But yes, you absolutely can be profitable like that. So again, we triggered, set your stop, and then just let it ride throughout the day. And then as it's going down, or as it's moving with you, you can move your stop even lower so that you can protect yourself to go from, your maximum loss of or on the losing side. You can cut it in half. You can move your stop up to your entry so that you're not going to lose money at all. You can move, or you can even say, you know what, I was planning on trading this all day or holding it all day, but I want to go ahead and take profit since we're at an area of support resistance. That's up to you. That's a decision that you have to make. And I do believe that it is a way to be successful as a trader, because it helps you be consistent, and that is so important. All right, so let's look into scalping. Here, what was the? Oh man, I apologize. I just forgot what the trigger was. It was 96.16. $96.16 was the trigger, and I mean, you can see how fast this happened. We opened right here at 96.46, pushed up a little, but basically immediately dropped, and it did break our trigger price in that first minute of the day. And I'm not entirely sure if it was even possible to get filled right here, because of how fast it happened. I'll tell you what happened with me was that I couldn't get filled, or not that I couldn't get filled, but I was watching other stocks and it just happened too fast. And by the time I looked up, it was already, below the entry, and this had a fairly tight range, so I didn't want to chase it really at all. I mean, I would have been willing to go a couple cents if I needed to, but not. I didn't want to go, 8 to 10 cents of chasing it on a stock like this. So as it popped up, I was still watching other stocks and not sure on this one, or I wasn't sure, but as far as like, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to trade it because I was in other trades as well. So as far as like buying power reasons, wasn't sure I was going to, but when it popped up, went ahead and you could go ahead and get filled, even if it's above the trigger. That's even better. The only thing you got to remember is you got to have a good stop loss set in place. If you got a good stop loss set in place, you are good to go, even as a scalper. This one, I'll be honest, it depends on what your stop loss was. If you had a fairly wide stop loss as a scalper, then you would have done really, really well in this trade. If you had a tight stop loss, you probably would have lost money on this one, which is fine. That's the way it works from time to time. It's just the way it happens. But if you did have a wide stop loss, you would have been fine. And one thing to consider if you're a scalping type trader is you can use the stop that I recommend each and every morning and scalp it, and still use that stop and then scalp your trades. It will make your position sizes smaller, which means on the good side, your buying power will be reduced, but on the bad side is that your profits will be smaller. Fortunately, so will your losses, but trading it that way will give you a good grasp on how to create a firm, concrete stop loss and be in full control of how much you are willing to lose. You can control what your max loss is if you do it that way. So that about wraps it up for this video. I appreciate you, and I'm really grateful that you chose to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. It would go a long ways in helping me grow the channel. I really appreciate it again. Thank you for watching. God bless.